All right, let's get into some entertainment news of the day, kind of stuff here. And so first off, E3's been completely canceled. They were going to do some kind of an online E3. It's completely canceled. I thought it was canceled last year. And by that I mean like E3 has kind of turned into this big corporate thing, and it's not what it used to be. Like, this is what happens. We regular everyday humans go, "Hey, we should have a get together." And then it turns into this big get together, and then before you know it, corporations go, "Hey, how can we make a lot of money off this get together?" And then it becomes just this big thing, and those who started it go, "This isn't what we had in mind." So yeah, it's canceled. They're talking about what they're going to do next year. Game companies, just in general, E3 is not what it was. It gets a higher profile, but it's not what it used to be. So that's those two things aren't necessarily the same. Higher profile doesn't mean a better event. We all know that. Some of the best concerts I've been to were very small concerts. I saw at Pack AD in Bellingham, and honestly, that was one of the most fun evenings I've had. And it was just, like 50 to 100 people. It was a really small, intimate setting, and that was one of the reasons why I made sure I actually made a recording of one of the songs that we watched while we were there. Where I was like, yeah, I got to record this. This is great. And it was a nice, great little atmosphere. So E3, maybe we need something that's a little more grassroots again. I don't know. They did a vote on the greatest WrestleManias of all time, and here's the reality: WrestleMania 17 was the peak for professional wrestling. That was the peak. That was right after WCW went out of business, so all the WCW guys were up watching from upstairs. Shane McMahon had taken over WCW, which was a silly storyline. The invasion failed, but you had Vince versus Shane, which was absolutely a great match. That's 19 years ago. And WrestleMania 17 was everything coming together. It was absolutely just fantastic event. The main event was amazing. All of it, the whole thing, top to bottom. Every match was great. Even the hardcore match. Remember the golf cart? There are so many things. I remember I watched that in a pub locally with a bunch of people, and it was when wrestling was really at its peak. So that's kind of where everything, and then after that, it all kind of goes downhill. I don't know where WrestleMania 36 is going to fit in. I watched a couple of matches, but honestly, if you don't have a crowd in attendance, it's not WrestleMania. They should have called it something else. They should have given it a different name and just had said WrestleMania will be delayed, and once we can get fans back into a stadium, then we can have a WrestleMania. I think you can have really good wrestling matches without fans. And the reason I say that is because without the fans in attendance, the wrestlers themselves have been talking more during the matches. And it feels like the commentary is a lot less intrusive in a lot of these matches too, where the wrestlers are being allowed to tell the match. And some of it's really entertaining. A good example would be The Undertaker against AJ Styles. And when he's like, "Oh no, you did good, boy. Yeah, no, you did better than others, and I'm not gonna bury you." And just there was this real feeling, this build that you wouldn't get in just a regular wrestling match in a ring at a WrestleMania. It would have been a great match, yes. Fan reaction would have been awesome, but I really think there was something different. And I think once we get back to some sense of normalcy in the world, and there's been talk of that on the news today. It's weird how from one day to the next it goes from to maybe at some point in the next few months. So this is and now all of this talk of, well, models have all changed. Right. Yes. Right. Where they're admitting, well, our model was based on nobody listening to us. Now that people are listening to us, we're going to have to change all the models. So just, again, take it day by day. Breathe, relax, and yes, the stress levels have been up. There's a lot of studies on stress levels right now, and do your best to de-stress as much as you can. I'll come back to that. But wrestling as a whole right now, I think what we're learning is there's an audience for a cinematic setup for wrestling matches, and we could see something really interesting and fun and creative come out of that. And I think that was a necessity. So we'll see what necessity breeds innovation, right? And we're going through a period right now. There's a lot of necessity. There's going to be a lot of innovation. So I really hope that next year at this time we're talking about WrestleMania 37. My biggest problem with WWE has been build. And they've had this problem for years, and maybe this is going to change now in what we're going through as well. AEW is shut down for now. Apparently, they have enough material to go for weeks or months. And again, the home stuff that they're doing, whether it's Jericho or it's the Elite, the home stuff they're doing is just fantastic. There's a lot of really fun stuff going on there. And with AEW, this always seems to be an issue. I was reading an interview with Brandy Rhodes, who of course, her husband's Cody Rhodes, and CEO of the company. Well, he's one of the more powerful people within AEW, right? Tony Khan's the owner and everything. But that means that Brandy has some say as well. Now, Brandy is, to me, she's one of the best talents that WWE let slip through their fingers. I think letting Cody go when he was Stardust, that was a mistake. But Brandy was fantastic. She was a good ring announcer. She's honestly not a bad wrestler. I know she's not the greatest, but neither was Trish Stratus when she started out. She's very pretty, and I think they could have done something really good with the two of them together in WWE, and I don't know why they insisted on keeping that Stardust crap going. I don't get it. So that set aside, she, of course, is asked about Nyla Rose. Nyla Rose is their women's champion, but she's trans. And they're like, well, why didn't you guys know that she was trans when you signed her? And her answer is, because there wasn't anything on the form when people are applying for a job to say, is your gender different now than it was when you were born? Like, that's not, so they don't care. And as a wrestling fan, I don't really care either. It really shouldn't be an issue. We're seeing Tessa Blanchard right now as champion in TNA, and it works. So I think that, there's definitely, there's limits to this, looking at you, Santina Marella. But while there's limits to this, I don't have a problem with Nyla, and she's a great heel, and she's a good wrestler. And from everything I've seen, she's a safe wrestler. I haven't seen her hurt anybody in AEW. And that's really the key thing. If Nyla's physical stature meant she was sloppy in the ring and people were getting hurt, then I'm right there with people who would be saying Nyla should be wrestling against men, which is something that I think may have been part of the reason why Nia Jax, they were toying with the idea of her wrestling against men, because Nia's hurt people. And the idea is that the men won't get hurt as easily as the women, so maybe if you put her in the ring with men, but they haven't gone fully that way. And I honestly, I don't think it's going to be a big issue. I think as time goes by, it's going to be less and less of an issue. I don't even understand why it's an issue. If the women that are wrestling her don't care, then honestly, as fans, we should just be entertained. It's not a sport where that affects the outcome. The outcome is decided by the script, so I really don't think it's that big of a deal. The Canadian dollar went up today, and I want to report this here because, again, this is that sense of optimism. So in times where the economy looks like, which has been the case over the last 3 weeks, you see money going into the American dollar, coming out of the stock exchange, and you look at gold. Gold goes through the roof when there's uncertainty because everybody puts their money into commodity or into their precious metals and into the dollar. This is your stability. Now, in signs that maybe certain parts of the U.S. could open up in the next few weeks, signs that maybe certain parts of Canada could open up in the next few weeks, and again, very slowly. It's sort of like, how to put this, when you think you've got a leak repaired, and you're like, okay, I think the tape's going to hold on the hose. Don't crank it up to full speed. We're going to crank it up a little bit, and we're going to see if any water leaks out, and we'll slowly turn, and it feels like that's what they'll do likely in a few more weeks. They're going to keep things in as they are right now for a few more weeks, and then we'll slowly open things up. And we'll see, does that hose burst a leak, and do we need to close everything off again and taper up again, or can we just gradually, slowly bring things around? And so the Canadian dollar being up is a good thing. Now I'm paid in US dollars, so I'm going to kind of look at that and go, yeah, of course. But the Canadian dollar overall has dropped about 11% since this whole thing has started. So it's still way down from where it was. So the idea that maybe it's turning the corner tells me maybe the economy's turning the corner as well. And then we'll start to see, again, for people who've lost their jobs, or a lot of people who've lost their jobs, those jobs are gone because of everything. And if the Canadian dollar goes up, and if we start seeing some things turn around, and in a few weeks things start to depressurize economically, some people watching this hopefully get their jobs back. So, on the topic of a sport that's looking at getting things going, Dana White apparently isn't letting a pandemic fool him. They can't hold an event in New York, but apparently he's trying to secure. And if this has come out since then, let me know in the comment section. But UFC on a private island? Yeah, this kind of has Island of Dr. Moreau written all over it. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about UFC on a private island, but Dana White's got this plan, so we'll see how it goes. Uh, Again, the problem you have is you're going to have all these fighters in the ring, clearly at close distance. I would love to see a fight going on where you have to stay 6 feet apart. That would be one of the greatest fights. That'd just like it would just be taking off your shoe and throwing it at them or something. I don't know, but obviously, if there's anybody within the company that has contracted this, that throws the whole thing off. But Dana White probably understands, as I have, and I've been touting on the hockey channel, that whatever sport figures this out gets 100% of the audience. On that note, Major League Baseball is eyeing games in May, potentially in Arizona, potentially in Florida. Now, Florida right now is a hot spot. Not going to happen in Florida. So Arizona, maybe. And again, it has to be kind of a remote location. Baseball, it can work. It can absolutely work. And if Major League Baseball can figure something out where they can have games in a centralized location, which they do every spring training anyways, they can get 100% of the audience. And people will be watching baseball, this guy included, who don't normally watch baseball because it's like, oh my God, a sport. Oh, I can do previews and reviews for baseball games. And then my wife would be crying and saying, what are you doing to our relationship? Why are you watching baseball? Why are you previewing baseball games? And people on this channel would say, this is really weird, Shannon's previewing. Is he getting baseball jerseys? The answer would be no, I don't have any money right now. So I would just be taking hockey jerseys for cities of teams that are in baseball and just, sure. And then for like San Diego Padres, I just wear like my Padres hat, which is my favorite baseball team, Padres. And it's been my favorite baseball team for many years. And they always disappoint me. And then I'd throw on one of the entertainment guy jerseys. And be like, all right, Padres, let's talk Padres. So, Major League Baseball's eyeing potentially May. Because they're down like, what, $2 billion if they don't figure something out? It's a lot of money. So, and that's the thing. There are people who make a lot of money right now. They're trying to figure out ways to make a lot of money. And it some of that will trickle down. But again, we're not getting into trickle down economics. That's a whole other ball game. Ball game, get it? No, that's not good. Now, one thing that we may be wondering is, with all this going around, and this is something that I've had in my mind, is exercise. So I do jog every day on my treadmill, about 40 minutes, and I find that it works quite well. That I've lost roughly 45 pounds, depending on the day, from where I was in July. And so I exercise about 45 minutes. Now, according to what I'm reading here, 20 to 30 minutes of exercise 3 times a week is considered the best, but they go with moderate exercise. You know what I don't like, and I was reading through even the studies, and I think what I'm doing is considered moderate exercise. I'm jogging 4 miles a day. I'm not like they talked about, like, it was 20 to 30 minutes, and then they were talking about mice and rats in like 2.5 hours of strenuous exercise. That's marathon runners. We're not. Why is it like so? I'll stick with my treadmill every day. It does say that basically if you are concerned at, the 20 to 30 minutes of moderate exercise, I would guess that's a brisk walk. I would guess. But then the other part is, well, what about 60 minutes of okay exercise, like just going for a regular walk? It's twice as much, but you're burning the calories, and I don't know. I know that I feel best jogging at about 5.5 miles an hour, which is not really, really fast. It's not sprint worthy. I've always been a long distance runner throughout school. That was basically, if I wanted to get a good grade in gym class, it would come from my distance running, and my floor hockey, and that would be where I got my good grades, and everything else average at best. Baseball, yeah, I don't know. Not really with baseball. The hand-eye coordination for me with baseball just wasn't a thing. It just wasn't. I was like Charlie Brown in the football. There was just no way I was hitting it. So, yeah. Apparently that's the ultimate, is 20 to 30 minutes of exercise 3 times a week, and it does decrease not only you're getting sick, but the amount of time that you are sick. Now, one thing that we need to remember in this current environment is they're still learning about what this illness does for how long and what it does to people. So again, make sure you consume news from as many sources as possible and take everything with a grain of salt. Even your health professionals will say, we have a good idea of what's going to happen. I kept hearing this today. We have a good idea of what's going to happen until the end of April. After that, we have no idea. We can have models and here's this projection, but we really don't know, because it depends where you are. Both, in terms of if you're in the States, it could be your state, it could be your city, it could be your town. And in Canada, it could be your province, it could be, again, your city, your town. So we're all just, it's all changing regularly. And so just kind of keep up to date and try not to project too far. A lot of people projecting really far into the future, and I think that increases your rate of depression, and I think that's something that we're dealing with on a global level right now. Animal Crossing. I can't. There's no way to segue into Animal Crossing. Eggs. No. Eggs don't get you there. But eggs are apparently a problem in Animal Crossing. So I'm not playing it. I don't have a Nintendo Switch. I actually looked at buying a Nintendo Switch when this whole thing started. I thought, I should probably get a Switch because I've got an Xbox, I've got a PlayStation. I probably should get a Switch. No. Now, apparently there's too many eggs due to this Bunny Day event, which runs till the 12th. And then they did an update to drop the number of eggs. But apparently there's a lot of whooshing from the eggs. And if you're fishing, you get eggs. If you're mining, you get eggs. And there's no fish. So it's not, and of course this has led to some really bad puns of how it's not excellent, and it's there's a lot. I'm not going to get into them, but it is interesting to me that Animal Crossing's become big news because we're all at home. And honestly, if you're the creator of Animal Crossing right now, you got to feel pretty good because the game is selling at crazy rates. You're making a lot of money. And Nintendo's honestly making a lot of money as well. So in this environment, there are certain companies that are doing really, really well, like video game companies, for instance. And developers, you could probably get paid to work at home too. So, right? I mean, it does make things more difficult. I know that it's a large environment. It'd be very tricky for them to just do all of their work from home. But right now, creating new video games could be very, very lucrative. Because again, we don't leave the house. And the World Health Organization says play video games until this is over and then stop it because they're addictive. Depends what day of the week you check. Now, Disney parks are all closed. I was reading this today that when Disney parks reopen, it's possible you get a fever check. So now when you're going in, now I know this from Disneyland, you go to your first entrance, which has a long lineup. And they may have to work on that when they reopen. They may have to make a distancing between people. Again, it's going to be really tricky when they reopen. They're probably going to have to wait until we're really on the downswing. So right now we're seeing this, and they're trying to curve the curve, and it's probably not going to be an opening for them until it's a steep drop in the curve, and they know that there's very little risk, right? So a fever check could be possible at the same time. So right now you get checked, your bag gets checked at that first checkpoint, and then you go in and give your tickets. So I would think the fever check would be first. And so it would just be probably just the laser thing like you see out of China where it's all right, here you go. Also with China, they at McDonald's and other locations, they will give you the data of whether or not the person had a fever that made the food for you, just to prove that they didn't have a fever, so there's no danger of that. I think this could be a thing from now on. So if you're sick, stay home. And if you try to, I'll be fine, I'll go, and you put on your Mickey ears and you head out the door, you're gonna have somebody at the Mickey park going, "Where do you think you're going?" And they use the little gun thing, and it says right here you're about 103.7. Looks like you're not coming in here. Leave, cover your face, get out. Yeah, this person's got the plague. Get him out. So, yeah, that could very well be possible at Disney parks. They want to make sure that people feel as safe as possible. This is part of the reason why they have the bag check on the way in. I have to say, going through that bag check every day we went through it 5 days out of 6. We were in California in January before everything went. I don't know how much the bag check makes me feel safer. Depending on who you go through, sometimes they're just like, yeah, it's fine. And it's like, there's all kinds of crap I could have had in there. And some of them are making conversation, so they're talking, and it's like, I appreciate this interaction we're having. You probably should be looking in the bag because you're not. And they just stick their hand and just, okay, here you go. So hopefully the fever check isn't like that where you go, all right, well, they all look good. And I checked. I'm going on my break, so they're gonna have to be careful with this. Did anybody want another Indiana Jones movie? After Crystal Skull, didn't we all agree this is bad? This is just terrible? Because I did. That was an awful movie. The Swinging Monkeys, did we forget? Did we forget all that? Because apparently there's an Indiana Jones 5 that's delayed until 2022. Was going to happen next year. Can we just not have it? Because we don't... And I love Harrison Ford, which is why I'm saying can we not? I think Harrison Ford at this point in time, he was great in Blade Runner, the new Blade Runner movie. Fantastic. But I don't think a new Indiana Jones movie works. I just don't. I'm really surprised they're making another one. But I guess as long as there's money to be made, come on, Harrison, get out of bed. I don't want to get out of bed. Come on, get him. Come on, we got to make another Indiana Jones movie. I'm not wearing the stupid hat. You're wearing the stupid hat. Get up. So, yeah, we're going to see that apparently in 2 years. All right. There's a messy situation going on between Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. And basically, there were domestic claims made by Amber Heard towards Johnny Depp, which hurt his career. And there's been some audio that's come out since then that doesn't make Amber Heard look very good. Clearly, these two are in a very toxic relationship. These two should not have been together. But it's made them both look kind of jerkish. But it's now... What happened was that all of the backlash was against Johnny Depp initially, and now that we're hearing more of his side, now it's gone on to her, and he's suing her, and apparently due to the potential she may have falsified evidence, she may go to jail for 3 years. Now she won't, but that's the max she could face, and this is a mess. Toxic people shouldn't be together. Toxic relationships are just, they're called toxic relationships for a reason. Not because of the Britney Spears song, which is great, but because it leads to this. And Britney herself, I think, has been in her share of toxic relationships. So hopefully, people who need help out of this, hopefully they get it. Whether it's Johnny, whether it's Amber, I don't care. This clearly, and I've heard the audio of it that led to, word that he was going through with a lawsuit. It's disturbing. There's some really disturbing stuff that went on there, and I'm not playing it because no. But it's hurt his career, and now it's definitely going to hurt hers. I know there was an online petition to have her removed from Aquaman 2. I don't know if it happens, but I'm gonna be honest. I think that based on what we heard there, they should probably at least consider it. If they're not considering it, they should be. Because again. And I'm not one to say, well, that should be canceled for. But in this case, I don't know. I just don't know how you do it. And Cats. The movie Cats, which I'm not going to see. I have no idea of seeing it. I put that one in a different color. Because, first off, wasn't it Jason Derulo that was upset that his junk was CGI cut out? And now we're hearing that there was a cut during the film where all the cats' backsides were clearly visible. Can this never come to light, please? I'm being honest. We never, ever need to see that. It's bad enough we don't need to see the movie. We really never need to see that. And for people out there going, oh, we need to see that, you might want to talk to whoever needs to help you out with some stuff in life. We never need to see that. Please, never. For the love of all that's holy, never, ever need to see that. All right, so there you go. Just catching up on everything that's not hockey that's gone on. That again, this is kind of my news feed that I get through my phone, and trying to weed through all of the insane information we're getting right now, just globally, that is terrifying. And so here's all the not terrifying stuff. There you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for all your support throughout all this. It means a lot. I will talk to you again soon.